From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
Vicky. I'm Vicky.
You
Hey.
Sure? You sure? You sounded like you had a question there.
I'm good.
Miss Vicky.
Good. Yes.
We have a guest.
We do.
After this, we will have a full, as far as I know, a full set of Korfs. We will have completed it, unless they've got some sneaky ones that we don't know about. He races a Miata. Usually we say spec Miata. I believe his is far from spec.
Mm-hmm.
Far from spec.
Far.
And he has one of my favorite blogs, and it is called Occam's Racer, which is quite funny as a title, but quite helpful. And we'd like to welcome to the podcast Mario Korf. Welcome to the podcast, Mario.
Thanks for having me.
So you've got Occam's Racer, and your brother has You Suck at Racing.
That's right. Yeah. He started the blogging before I did. A good deal before I did. Yeah. I think it was from this You Suck at Cooking or something, but he started just looking at videos and how people suck and just criticizing them. And, he's a car coach and whatever. And then he sort of transformed into more helpful things instead of just criticism.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, one of the things that instructing has taught me is there seems to be an endless number of ways for people to do things incorrectly, and very few ways to do them correctly. And sometimes you learn from your student going, never thought about doing that. That's not good. But we get there.
Yeah.
So Mario, go ahead.
I was going to say he inspired me to do a little bit of writing. I saw his writing. He's a good writer. And I was like, I'm a professional writer. He's a professional geneticist. I should have a blog because I'm a writer. And so I started my own.
Nice.
That's the history.
And it's quite good. I read, I think, 2 articles, and then I just went back to the beginning and just went all the way through.
Thank you.
It was fun. Yeah.
So, you probably saw that I really started because there was a sort of hole in the air that you could throw a Miata through. And it was that nobody had done any kind of testing for what's the difference between a hardtop and a fastback. That was just because no one really makes fastbacks. But I always wanted to know. I've looked at the Miata hardtop and said, it's too wide. It's too short. The way that the air converges around the sides is terrible. The backlight angle is wrong. And I said, someone's got to be able to do something better. So I built a fastback and made sort of quick release mounts so I could go to Watkins Glen and test okay, what's the difference between an OEM hardtop, a fastback, an open top, and a chop top, which is what some people would run in Champ Car or Lemons, right? Just a skin over the roof.
Yep.
And that's how the whole thing started. And I kind of posted online, who wants to help me with this? And I met this guy, Jeremiah Wennermark, who's a kid. This kid is brilliant, super smart. Went to school for aerodynamic theory and all this sort of stuff. And he came out to Watkins Glen, and we put $20,000 worth of computers and sensors on my car and tested everything for 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'd put a splitter on the car. We'd take the splitter off the car. We'd put a hardtop on. We'd put fastback on. And we'd drive down, I had 2 drivers. They would drive down the back straight at Watkins Glen, steady state, and then push this button in and then release the gas and then, coast to 70 miles an hour. So we got the static, we got this coast down, we got rolling resistance. I mean, we knew how much downforce and drag the car was making everywhere on the track. The technology is super fancy. These little strain gauges that have change, resistance as you apply pressure to them, and they're on all 4 corners of the car, right?
Right.
So, it was incredible to see actually how much drag and downforce the car makes in various things. So we're getting front and rear. We have a pitot tube in the front, so we know air resistance, temperature, and we can basically turn Watkins Glen into a wind tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just kind of how it started. I wasn't super interested in aerodynamics before that because my first race car was a MR2 that we built a boat around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like anti-aerodynamic. That's the one Ben Dawson and Kim drove with us. I was like, hey man, like, you want to come race with us? And he was like, yeah. And it's like, he's like, holy, you guys race a boat?
Oh, don't worry. We'll be talking more about that.
Yeah, it was awful. But to go from there to being like somebody who's really interested in aerodynamics, I just finished Kyle Forster's like $1,000 course on aerodynamics, which was like the best money I spent last year.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but I'm an aero nerd, and I don't think everyone would get the same out of it, but I certainly did. And I've been studying this for now a few years, and I think I've definitely sort of filled gaps in the Miata database, as well as sort of just like explored aerodynamics and just like everything, like the more you learn, now you just find out you just need to learn more, right?
Deeper you go, the deeper it gets.
I know. I went really far down the rabbit hole, especially on wings. And it's so ridiculous because Miatas are front limited. I mean, so are all touring cars, right? Your Civic, your truck, especially. Everything's front limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can put as much rear downforce as you want, but you're just going to overwhelm the aero balance on your car unless you can get enough front downforce. So I spent all this time sort of like noodling on wings and stuff, and it's not necessary. Like, just buy a decent wing, buy a 9 wing, stick it on the back of your car, put it at 0 degrees, and like sort of mess with like 3 degrees of wing angle. But and that's it. Like, there's no like rocket science here, unfortunately. It's that easy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So intros are not my strong suit. I just get stuck doing them because nobody else will. What's your professional life outside of racing?
My professional life outside of racing is I'm a long-time technical writer. I started technical writing, like I started doing software like whatever years ago, and then I got into technical writing, and I've just been doing that forever. I worked for Oracle, or Salesforce, Occam, and now I work for Google.
Okay. I knew the technical writing part. I just didn't know any of the details. So
yeah. So when I say I'm a writer, like I'm a technical writer. I actually was a motorcycle journalist for a brief period of time, like 5 years. They would fly me around the world, and I would like ride a motorcycle and write words about it. And that's every bit as good as you think that is.
It sounds like it's fun. See, that brings me to the Bill. Why don't you drive motorcycles? And my answer is because I would like it a lot.
Oh, you'd love it.
I'd get myself in trouble.
I don't even ride on the street anymore. I only ride on the track. It's not that much trouble. I'm going to get you. I'll get you hooked on this, dude. It's so much fun.
I don't know.
Let's also just say that Bill's not very agile either.
What?
So.
I am all over it.
Bikes. You don't have to be. Bikes are agile. You don't have to be agile.
Well.
Yeah, Ken Hill's constantly trying to get me to go. Like,
yeah,
I don't think so.
Ken Hill's awesome because he does bikes and cars, and is such a data nerd.
He is.
I totally have like a crush on that dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on twice now, I think, maybe 3 times. I can't remember because he coaches us as well. So he's just a good guy, and fun. So you do most of the stuff I know you with. Well, besides the event we went to up at the safety track where you did not have a Miata, I always see you in the Miata. Is there anything else that you have on your stable besides your motorcycle and your Miata?
Not currently, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we started with an MR2.
Which generation?
AW11, first generation.
Okay.
And we blew up the motor enough times. We swapped in a silver top, and like we just seemed to spin bearings all the time, and it had oiling issues. And of course we built a boat around it, so it wasn't really meant to do what we were doing. And then we went to my brother had E30 for a bit, and then we went to the Miata platform. And they're just so economical, and they do what you want. It's kind of hard to leave.
But Miatas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so boringly good.
Everybody's like, it's the easy button. It's the standard one. I'm like, but it kind of deserves to be.
Yeah.
And we're still at the point where we're trying to get better. So, you can either fix the car or fix the driver. And we're working on a driver. So we want a car that's like competent, and we're the limit. So
yeah.
Someday we'll make a boat car. We'll see.
We will.
I hope to make another one. I just sold my Mini because I had a really like legit Sunday Cup car, but I just sold it.
I know. I was bummed when I found out. I was like a couple of weeks late, and I was like, "Oh, I could have put yours. Would have been great."
Yeah, Sunday Cup is, I kind of want to do it. It sounds fun. It's not economically the greatest thing. Like, it's expensive to run for how much track time you get.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true with all racing, right? So,
yeah, it's just how much per hour, not, none of them are zero at all.
Yeah. But, coming from racing, like a Miata or a Yaris, I mean, the Yaris burns 4 gallons per hour, right?
Mhm.
So it's crazy. I just did 2.5 hour stints on a 10-gallon tank. Like we are like, and it doesn't use brake pads and it doesn't use tires. It's so economical that, like, when you think about, then you're like, wait, I'm going to pay $775 for like half a dozen time attack sessions. No, I don't want to do it.
Indeed.
I want to race wheel to wheel for 2.5 hours at a time.
It's so much more fun. I keep trying to talk Adam into getting a Sunday Cup touring car class, but as of yet, his weekends are quite full, and I don't know how you would do it, but it would be fun.
Yeah, I'm going to do are you guys going to go to New Jersey, the Grid Life in New Jersey?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, we are? Well,
Yes.
yeah, we are.
So I'm planning on that one. Like, I haven't raced the endurance races I haven't raced with them at all. So I thought, shit, I like these endurance races. I'm going to go do the endurance race with those guys.
Yep, we're doing Sunday Cup with them, and we have a probability of doing the endurance race as well. So that's going to be a big weekend for us.
Which class would you do?
It would probably, it's either going to be in the Sunday Cup class or in the E46 class.
Would that be what the Sunday Cup is right there?
No, Sunday Cup is the time trials.
I know, but would they have that at the
Yeah, they have that
at that Grid Life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they have that club sport class, which is 18-to-1 power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
And then they have the 12.5-to-1.
Yeah.
But the bummer is that the 25-to-1 and the 18-to-1, they don't allow any aero.
Right.
And it's like, man, that's my thing. Like, I don't even want to race a car without aero because they don't look right. Like, cars with spoilers look cool. Cars with wings look like race cars, right?
It's all the image. It's the
Yeah.
image.
And it's also fun. It's like something that's like, I'm like not an engine guy, like, despite like having gone to motorcycle mechanic school, and when I was like a BMW motorcycle technician for wherever, I don't want to work on a car. I just want to do aero,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I looked at that and I was like, shit. So I'm gonna enter the Grid Life Touring Cup one in a car that's probably way down in power, but like, I don't want to sacrifice my aero. I'm not going to pull my aero off to run in this 18-to-1 class.
Yeah. Yep. Probably do okay, because most of the cars seem to be sprint cars trying to do endurance, so that usually doesn't go well. They usually find a weak spot.
Yeah, I'm used to that shit, so that'd be great.
Exactly. Miss Vicky, your favorite?
Yeah.
Class?
So, what do you guys? You and your brother, or you have a race philosophy? I always like to hear what people are telling themselves, or they kind of.
I probably do. I think that I just wrote about it in my last blog post, and I would sum it up as, my philosophy is to take care of the car for the next driver.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. In 11 years and 26 endurance races, I have 3 black flags. I'm not the black flag guy. I am the take care of the car. I point people by. I race like a gentleman. I mean, I'm sort of like B speed. Like, I'm faster than most people, but I'm never going to be as fast as the fast people. And I don't defend my line, and I don't like steal apexes and dive bomb people. I'm totally like a gentleman racer. And that's my philosophy, is that we're all out there together. And you're never going to find me like running it up the inside of you, like, or blocking or anything. Like, I'm in it for the long con. I'm going to be in the car for 2.5 hours and beat you on a fueling strategy.
And have you?
Yeah. Like, in the last race, we ran a 2-stop strategy in Lemons and avoided like basically 10 minutes of pit stop, and won second place by 43 seconds because we didn't stop.
Is that your last race, the one that was in California just recently?
Yeah, last week. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Butts and seats.
Butts and seats.
Yeah.
Fast turnover.
Not in the pits lane.
Yep.
So you were at the last Lemons race. You were riding in which? I think
In
it was
the
your brother's
Yaris.
Yaris.
Yeah. So a little bit about that race, because it was so funny. Like, they do a 5 mile there. They combine the 3 mile and the 2 mile. And once upon a time, they did that and set the Guinness Book of World Records for its 216 cars on track racing at the same time, which was pretty insane. We were in that race in a Miata, racing anyway. We had 216 written on the top of the car because that was like how many cars were in it. It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was hectic as all hell. But this time they took that track and ran it backwards. And I don't know if you guys have ever run track backwards.
We haven't run it forward or backwards.
Or any track that you like, Palmer or Renlap, right? So when you run them backwards, all the references are gone. Yeah. The track out spots are different. And so they'd never done it before. They've never run the 5 mile before. So they said, okay, we're going to run a 5 mile course backwards. And then on the second day, we're going to run the 3 mile course backwards. And then halfway through the day, we're going to turn it around and run the 3 lap forward. Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Sounds like fun though.
Yeah. So I signed up immediately. Right. So it was stupid fun. It was super fun. Like that track, the 5 mile in reverse is super technical. Tons of blind corners, like weird entries and exits, and off camber, lots of off camber. And
decreasing radius too, or no?
Oh yeah. That track is everything. Every difficult corner is in that track. And then we're doing it in a Yaris, which has 100 horsepower and kind of like really tall gearing with really bad choice of tires. And then let me just tell you, like, my brother bought the rear tires for $60 and they're the wrong size. They're 2 inches too tall. So he had to jack up the rear suspension to clear it, and they're too tall. So there's way too much weight on the front tires, right? And the front tires are these off-brand Indonesian tires that cost us $65. So like, all told, like, we're really in it for like $250 on tires or whatever it was, right?
Yeah. Some people spend that on one.
Yeah. And so, and the car wants to rotate like crazy. Like, I lost the car 3 times on the warm-up lap because there's no way to get any heat into these tires. There's no weight on them, right?
Lost, or just kind of had the big wiggle?
Oh, I've caught it,
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then, not that like I'm like highly skilled, I got lucky. But anyway, I eventually got some heat into these tires and we ran a good race, but I put tons of rear aero on it. Like, I put a huge wing on this thing. I came in a day early and was like, here's the plan. And like, we put this big wing on it and all this other aero to try and make this Yaris do something. And it worked, I think. Like, the car has never been more stable or handled better than it did. It was great. Even with those like really like Kmart tires, it was fantastic.
Well, it's tough to get the heat into rocks,
Yeah. I'm being a little bit unkind. I mean, they're not terrible. They're like just like a 300,
Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah. What's that one from Walmart they sell, the 600s?
Oh, the Douglas tires. I got just a quick story about that. So one time we raced Lemons and we said, we're going to run these Douglas tires, and they're $36. I think we paid $32 each for them. And I said, and we put it out on the Lemons forum. This is like when forums were actually a thing. And we said, like, we're going to have a D, they run A, B, and C class. And then Lemons said, the organizer said they were going to run a D class for this race. Anybody on Douglas tires would be in D class, open.
That'd be awesome. I
know. And we're the only ones who showed up.
Oh no.
I know. But it still ranks as probably the best race I've ever done. It was on the 5 mile, and we ran like these $32 tires, and the car slid everywhere. It was incredible. The only thing where you notice it is in braking distances. They were like twice as long. You're ready. You're usually like, okay, I'm upshifting here, and then I'm going to brake on brake marker 2, and you're like, no. I'm like at like before brake marker 3. Yeah. But in like lateral grip and acceleration, you didn't really notice that much. It just slid everywhere. And our lap times were probably like 10 seconds slower. But it's Lemons. It doesn't matter. And we actually took quite a few scalps that day, and it's still like I said, it's probably the most fun I've ever had was these $32 tires. Yeah.
That'd be interesting to have the whole field on those, because it would bring everybody together.
I know. I'd love to do it. They lasted the whole race. I mean, after the race, you were like, yeah, they could probably go another 3 races.
Maybe.
They're like, I think they're 460 treadwear. They really should be somewhere in the 600 or 700s, though.
Yeah. That's just way too much fun. And we need to try that at an HPD at least, Miss Vicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth doing.
Yes, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Exactly. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So being somewhat technical and an engineer, I get Occam's Racer.
Yeah.
100%.
What is Occam's Racer? I mean, that's just so unusual.
Bill's about to tell you. Who just got on this call?
Uh-oh.
Oh, what's this?
There's an
What's
invasion.
this?
You guys just let anybody into this podcast now?
I
We
know.
do. Only Korfs are allowed tonight, though.
Only people on the mend.
Okay, I'm assuming you guys can edit this out later.
No, God, no. This is way too much fun. How's your leg?
My leg is fine. Did he threaten to punch anybody in the dick yet?
Not yet. Not yet. But we haven't gotten to Ben Dawson's first race story yet. So
Yes, that's right.
Because that's a usual thing.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
No,
somebody's got to do it.
We were just talking about this, the origin of Occam's Racer, which is, when you have multiple competing solutions, usually the simplest solution is the right one. That's kind of
Right.
generally how it goes, right? So
Right.
Right, absolutely.
That's Occam's
and-
razor. Yeah.
Occam's
Yeah.
Racer.
Do
So
you know about- Yes, that's true. Do you know about the other razors besides Occam's razor?
Mm-mm.
Harry's? I saw the video the advertisement on some other podcasts, which if they want to advertise on our podcast, come on in.
No, there's other famous razors. There's Hanlon's razor and Hitchin's razor,
Ah,
I know
which are
Hitchens.
probably appropriate to car driving. Let me tell you what, and then let's match up a razor to it in this world. All right. Hanlon's razor is never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. So I think that is when somebody gives you really bad car advice, it's probably not because they're trying to give you bad car advice, it's just because they're dumbasses.
I use that at work a lot.
do you? You do. You call Anlin's Razor, or you just quote it.
I try to explain to people that the other company that we're working with or the customer or whatever is not doing this with some devious plot. This is not what they woke up with, coming up with.
right.
I am going to screw this guy, or I am going to make their day hell today. This was not their goal. They're just dumb, and they messed up.
I mean, this happens in racing all the time, right? You see somebody that just comes and closes the door on you, and when you're already showing them a fender, the wheel anyway, you're like, no, they're just dumbasses.
No, they just don't have a mirror, or they choose not to use it.
Right. All right,
was
here's
that?
another one.
What's the other
Hitchin's razor. Hitchin's razor is just as good. The burden of proof of a claim lies with the person who made it, aka wings are more trouble than they're worth. Okay, if you're going to claim that, you're going to have to actually show it.
Okay.
Splitters don't actually, whatever. I'm just talking about aero shit because Mario's like, I've been the Hitchins razor sometime guy. It's like, I don't want to do that shit. And he would tell me, no, you
So
can't
wait a
speak-
minute. Let me just interrupt then. So
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Ian was like an aero denier for all this time. And so I flew in a day early,
No,
spent
said it
all
true.
this time on his car. And how much better was the car with aero?
I don't know. I only drove it for 5 laps.
And that's enough to know that it was awesome.
Well, okay, it did handle well, but we were on terrible tires. It was
We just talked about the tires. Yeah.
We already talked about the tires. But anyway,
it wasn't an A/B test. You have to bring data.
yeah.
ABA test would be even better.
Yeah. I do a lot of that. Anyway,
I'm sure.
I can tell you the car was really great, and aero works. The burden of proof is on me, and
Well, that was the thing. Like at the beginning, Mario, before you were an aero something. I don't know. What are you? You're not an aero prophet. You're an aero experiment.
Evangelist? I think evangelist.
Kind of an evangelist. He's now an aero pusher, let's be honest.
Does that
I
mean
don't
my
sell-
first wing is free?
I don't sell anything, dude. No, I can't be sure.
Before he was an aero evangelist, he was just like, this is what I think. This is what I think. And he didn't really have any proof. And then what did he do? He went and did the experiments and got the proof. He spent, thousands of his own dollars of his own money to put load cells and shit all over his car. And so he's like, what happens when you do a coast down from 90 miles an hour at Watkins Glen, and you've got this on your car, that on your car. Well, there's data for it because he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what you need to do is you need to actually do the experiments, look at the data, and then, show people that. And you don't have to argue about it.
I think everyone who has a Miata owes me a beer. Like I really took one for the team here.
Well,
Like
you did, and
yeah.
the reading about it, and sometimes depending on mood, sometimes it's like you just read it and you're just like, okay, tell me the answer, and then sometimes you're like, oh, I got to know the entire thing. Like, how did we get all this way? So it's one of those, you got to be in the right mood for your Occam's
Well,
razor articles.
yeah, I mean I enjoy writing and I'm a bit of a like a prick sometimes. I like to threaten people with dick punches or whatever. So I'm a little bit like I'm also like a very technical person, but I like to make it more accessible for the
Mhm.
layperson. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really long. Like I could totally see someone going like coming to my site and going, "Yeah, dude, I didn't read your article because it was like 3,000 words." And be like mad at me. And I'm like, yeah, I probably could have put a TLDR at the top and made it easier, but like I enjoy writing. I even like go back and read my own stuff as narcissistic as that is. Like I just like I'll be like, man, that was a good one. You know?
That's
I do
okay.
that. I do that too, but I also forget that what I wrote. And so halfway through it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, I wrote that.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
This,
that's
this
the point
guy's
where
pretty
I've got
good.
with age. Like I just like
senior
I've
moment.
forgotten.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It happens. It happens. Okay, so we're gonna skip our order just a little bit. Now that we got both of you,
Oh, I was okay.
now that we have both of you, we have upgraded our list, and we're skipping right to the bottom. We need info on this first ever Ben Dawson race that you guys were part of. So we need some stories.
Which
We
was
need
the first Ben race?
It was in the boat. He joined probably at Sonoma. It was at Sonoma. Yeah. First race at Sonoma. So, we had this car with a boat builder around it, right? And Ian, I think he was at Davis. Was his wife at Davis?
Ben, his wife was in school at Davis, I believe.
Yeah, so somehow Ian and Ben hooked up and we had this, this guy with this sort of thick Southern drawl, like super happy-go-lucky dude.
Hmm?
We didn't know anything about this guy. And we threw him in this car that was broken. Like I think our first guy went out and did something. We had mismatched axles on the car.
Mm-hmm.
It was crabbing sideways in the corner. And he
It
actually
was
drove the
crabbing
car.
sideways on the straight.
Yeah, no. So I took the car out, and I went into turn one at Snow, which is kind of this turn, like this left turn up the hill, and then there's this right turn. Anyway, the car went sideways on me in a straight line, and I
That's
like went
fantastic.
white as a sheet. And I drove around the entire track at 15 miles an hour and came in and said, "My life isn't worth this." Ben went out and like just drove it for 2 hours. And he was like, he'd been out in it already, and he was like, "Yeah, I just thought that's how you guys set the car up." And he can drive anything. Like he can drive a total piece of shit. And we were pretty impressed with him. Like when the car was fixed, he and I set like exactly the same lap times. Ian did this like histogram once and like pulled the top 10 laps, and we were like neck and neck. But if that's a car that handles, if the car doesn't handle, like he'll lap me in 3 laps. He's just got like
Wow.
he's a great driver. Like don't mess around with Ben. Yeah.
Don't let
What else?
don't let the Southern humility
No,
overshadow.
no,
I
he
think I
is.
think more than a great driver, Ben is a great person. Actually, he is a kind and generous and has his heart in the right place in a lot of things. He sometimes comes off a little bit like he likes to be kind of funny sometimes, and it comes off with, I don't know, I think distasteful every once in a while. But you know what? Just such a nice guy at heart. I think he's a great guy,
Well, a
a great
text
human
from Ben
being.
just came in and says
Oh,
to say hi from him, and I love those guys with real love. So
yeah. Remember when he showed up with that SN95? Like he's a Miata guy and then showed up with a Mustang and he tried to like track this Mustang.
Yeah,
That was such a mistake.
yeah, he was going to buy. Yeah, he had this idea that he wanted to get a bit more of power in a rear wheel drive car, and so yeah, so he got this thing and he put some suspension on it, and did a little bit of other work on it, made it into a little racy Mustang, and it didn't really fit his personality. I think it's like he was a Miata guy, and then driving this thing around just didn't really like.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only I remember, like, I never went on track with him with it, but I do remember driving back from Sonoma at like at 2 o'clock in the morning, terrified because he was driving so fast on 80
Oh,
in
jeez.
the middle of the night.
Yeah. He's a fast driver everywhere. I mean, there's times also like he's definitely more aggressive than I already told you guys like that I'm the gentleman driver. Like I wouldn't throw that on him.
No, I would. I'll tell you, one reason to have Ben on your team is so he's not on your team.
You don't have to race against him, right?
Like if you're going to share a track with Ben Dawson, it's better if he's on your team.
Oh, geez. No, you are not wrong. I would just like to be in the same racetrack with him for once. I'd like to meet him. We have yet to meet him.
That's
You've
crazy.
not met Ben?
Nope.
No, we have podcasts with him. I've never actually shook his hand.
Well, I know you guys are going to miss my track day on May 14th because you have that
one lap
thing going on. I'm just kidding this time. I think it's awesome that you're doing it in a Sunday Cup car. I mean, that is so over the top.
That is awesome.
But I want to get
people bring in their supercars.
Yeah, I'm bringing a supercar. It's just shaped like a brick.
Well, I'm going to invite Ben up to my country club and you guys, and we'll do a big track day, and I'll float you guys all some free track time. But we got to bring Ben up.
I think we do. We do.
The country club has got this new track extension they're doing. So, I mean, it would have been cool for you guys to see the old track. Well, you can also, but it's like, it was like, like go-kart tracky, like autocrossy with hills.
It looked kind of crazy.
It is crazy. It would make you an amazing driver though. Like it's tough. But the new one will be interesting, and it'll be kind of cool to do both. So we'll make it happen.
We still want to get those guys on. So the offer's open.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
No worries. So speaking of visits, Mr. Mario, you are close enough where I am willing to bribe you to come down, because we have these things called splitters, and we have them, but we're so afraid that they're going to fall off. We've never put them on the car.
Wow.
So we are willing to bribe you with room and board for technical expertise at any time.
I'll come down
whenever you want. And we bribe hard, and
Let me tell you what Mario's going to say about your splitters. Can I guess?
Go for it.
He's going to say, well, those are nice splitters, but splitters make like 3 times as much downforce from the suction they do from the pressure. So we have to do this and this and this and this. And he's going to modify the hell out of your splitters.
Sounds like a plan. I'm just so paranoid that they're going to fall off the car and hit somebody else's car and cause damage that I will not put them on the car. And I have 2 of them sitting there, right there, ready to go.
So number one is no, just mount it solidly. You can totally do it. I've mounted one on a minivan. I mounted one on Ian's car, on my car, on another Miata. Yeah, I'm getting to be really good with the splitters. Do you have some welding equipment down there? I can make a couple brackets. Okay, so I'll make a couple brackets for you. But what Ian was saying about the suction.
Captain's log supplemental.
Everybody makes with a splitter. Everybody who makes a splitter thinks it's basically a spoiler, and they just make this really long blade, and they think that the pressure, the splitter makes downforce via pressure on the top of the blade, and that's not true.
No,
I mean,
I've been thinking about this,
but it's only 25% of it. Like most of the downforce happens underneath the blade.
So what I was thinking,
and so these people run flat splitters.
We have the one car that's got the aim
flat
dash
does nothing.
Slowing us down.
You have to change the direction of air
installing the aim dash
to make downforce. Right,
it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. We haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in
sort of negative space behind the
Lemons
splitter,
car?
then you start
and we'll worry about
suction,
the
and now you're like, oh my god, I'm
information
creating shit ton
separately, and
downforce.
we'll kind of break it down into a project.
And the other thing people think
Because then we
is
have
just
the
completely wrong is
motorsports
that you
video
run the
system that
splitter
we
as
really want,
low
and
as
we'd be able
possible
to
to the
stream it. We
ground.
just won't have both the
And
data
like this was on like trackable
inside,
Miatas not
but we
long
have the
ago, where I
data
just had to laugh.
outside.
Like I
so
used to
we can
correct
combine
people,
them later.
and
But
now I just
I think that's a really good
I
solution.
just want to race you.
Because
Because somebody was saying you run your splitter as close to the ground as possible.
If it had
and
the
it's just
aim
not true.
data,
At about
it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry, everything live.
You start to lose downforce.
We'd be able
so
to
at 3/4
not only
of an
record
inch,
it for
you've got as much
viewing
downforce as
after the race,
if
but we
you
can
ran the
actually watch
splitter
our
at
car
6
during
inches.
the race.
At a half inch from the ground,
like on the
you've
monitor and
got it's
everything?
basically you're
On a
like running
monitor,
your splitter
if
8
you
inches
were at
off the
home and
ground,
I was at a
which
track,
nobody
or
would do.
if you were at the track
So
and
it's
I was
like,
at home,
yeah, please run your
depends on who
splitters
gets
as
the
low as
short straw.
possible and run them flat
We'd
because
be able to watch each other.
you jackasses all
You know,
pass
it's
all of
something
you.
I've always wanted to do.
I mean, at least make them out of very heavy. You can do on the aim.
Yeah, make
on
them
the
out of
Sentinel
Baltic
system.
birch.
What's
You can communicate to me with your
Why
hands.
would you choose
I
a wood
can't
that's
do a
like
thing about it.
30% more heavier and
Even better.
not waterproof?
So
But
You
whatever.
know, if you
Let's
need
not
to give
get
a
into that.
wave
I
or a
have some
Jersey
great
wave,
secrets.
whatever you need, you do. We
And
could
that's
save
okay.
it and see
we'll
it
do it
on
on
one
your car.
screen,
We'll
and
do
then
it
you
on
can
your
have
car.
up to
And we
three
will.
different cameras. If we do it in
and
time,
we'll
we
have
can
picture-in-picture
we can
on
then
the
dedicate the
main
testing
shot
for
of
the
the,
front window, and then the
two
endurance
kind of,
cameras where you put
put
them
'em
wherever you want. One
and
could be
be
on
on
the
the
driver, or one could be on the rear
I will do
view.
it before that, dude. I'll come
Kinda
down.
cool.
I'll come down to the next
Then
one.
we can upload it onto
Then-
YouTube.
We're definitely doing it now.
There is work.
Millions of
I'm
people
sorry.
on YouTube.
I'm
I love
impressed
it.
with every time I see your
Very well.
picture of your workspace.
You know what
I'm like,
the
oh
only
my
downside I
god,
see about
that's
this?
so nice. Like you
Your
actually have
mom and my
space to
mom
move
are going to be
around and
panic
good
stricken the
lighting and
entire
stuff.
weekend watching
I'm so
this thing
jealous.
to see if everything's going You well. can come over anytime, sir.
This
You've got
is
an open invitation as
true.
well. We probably shouldn't tell
There
them.
is work to be done.
I like the idea
I'm
of
in
having them set
California. I work in my driveway.
Well, luckily, I understand. Maybe
I'm
too.
just
Saying,
saying,
if you're ever up this way, open
gonna
door. All right, that
So,
sounds like a plan.
Bill, you guys have
That's
a
the
nice
project.
shop. Bill, Vicky,
We
you
gotta
have a
get
nice
that ready
shop.
for
I
the
have a
next
nice
race.
shop. I have a 50-foot
Sounds
by
great.
20-foot barn.
All right, very well.
I go to
Nice.
Ian's place, right? And I'm literally outdoors on my back working in his sloped driveway. He's got a great garage, but he's got a pool table in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, 50 by
priorities.
20 foot barn out by Ian would cost what, $3 million?
Yeah.
Hey, sometimes I put like a canopy over the car to so there's not direct sun on it. So there's
Really?
yeah, luxury, man.
Whoa.
Living
Oh.
big.
Easy up over the car. That's about as good as it
Hmm.
gets.
Well, it's not to get rid of the rain because
Yeah,
we don't do that.
Yeah.
Although you guys had snow, were you part of the snow brigade last weekend? or
No, we're up north. We're actually having lots of rain right now.
Oh,
We get
okay.
a bit hail. That's pretty yeah, I've been here almost 20 years. I haven't seen snow once in Davis. I mean,
Dude,
nearby, yes,
But
no.
dude, hold on. We're not going to get on this podcast and talk about the weather.
We
Thank you.
can. We talk about everything.
No, man. No, let's get
No.
back to aero.
All right, back to
Okay.
Arrow. All right,
So-
so the
yeah.
snowflakes, they fall down because of Arrow, right?
But for sure, I'll come help you guys aero your car. That's awesome. We're
That'd be
doing the
fun.
basic splitter, probably some kind of wing action, some other stuff like underneath the car because we're building suction. I want to see what you guys are doing for a wing mount on your hatchback. Like you have an EF or EG?
EG.
EG. So that would be awesome. Do you guys run a wing or no?
Just the one that's on there normal.
That's not a wing.
I know. That's why I said
Okay.
I didn't say it was a wing. It's just the thing that's on there normal.
All right. So let's talk about that too, because it really so Ian's car, like when we just had this race last weekend, we're racing backwards. So we're hitting turns, like we come over the top of 9, down 8, 7, 6. It's a fast right, like a really fast right, pucker right into a super fast left kink and into this hard braking zone 90 degree into turn 6. And the Yaris, which should pass nobody, passed everybody. We are pinning it. We are pinning it around all of those turns. And then with this more rear bias because of the wing, outbraking everybody. Like this was the passing zone.
Really?
And it's this is incredible. Like that's not a place that you would say a Yaris is going to pass everybody. And it was like clockwork.
See, I would have thought with a front wheel drive, you really want to have more of the grip towards the front of the car. And the rear wouldn't be quite as helpful.
No, weirdly, no. What's really interesting about front wheel drive cars is what you really want them to do is when you get off the gas, they oversteer by themselves and steer themselves through the corner. So you charge into the corner, lift off the gas, it pivots, and then you get back on the gas to get out of the corner. That happens at slow speeds. At high speeds, if that happened, you'd be dead, like you would spin.
Yeah.
So what you really want is completely different behavior in a slow speed rotation corner from a high speed corner. In a high speed corner, you want the back pinned down so that you can just go flying through it and you don't spin.
Okay.
So having a car that is sort of unstable at low speed and really stable at high speed is actually a really good thing. The other thing that happens at high speed is if you're in high speed gearing, you're not going to spin the front wheels. They've got no power on them anyway. So you don't really need that much weight on the front. But in a lower speed corner, when you don't, you actually do want a little bit more weight on the front. So having this dynamic grip where it's the car is pretty heavy on the front in a slow speed corner, which means the back is pivoting around, the front's got good grip, excellent for short speed, slow corners. And then a high speed corner sticks down and you just go. It's really interesting. It was a really interesting feeling that to have so much confidence in a high speed corner that I just didn't care. I just pin it. I know I'm not going to fall off the track. And then in a low speed corner, I can still rotate it. And so it's this is how it's supposed to happen with front wheel drive. It's really nice.
Yeah. Some of that though was because we had this extreme rake because he put those 25-inch tires on the back.
Yeah, I did have
Uh,
we did have extreme rake. Yeah.
yeah.
But it was really neat having a car whose handling changed with the speed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like,
Especially
yeah.
if it's the way you want it to change. That would be
Yeah,
great.
no, that's the way. I think that's the way you want it to change. You really want it to stick in the high speed corners. You want the rear to stick down, and low speed corners you want to skate around.
Well,
Mhm.
I mean, if you read aerodynamic texts, they say what Bill was saying, which is like, let's say you have a car with 66% of the weight on the front end. You really would, most people would put 2/3 of the aero on the front and 1/3 on the rear. And likewise, if you were racing a Porsche 911, you'd put 33% of the aero on the front and 66% on the back, because that's the actual weight balance of the car. You tend to match aero balance to weight balance. We were doing something different, and we're not going to tell everybody to do that, but it worked for us. Yeah, the rule of thumb is different though.
But it's something I was really curious about. Like I've had this fantasy of having a really darty front wheel drive car that could be locked down in fast corners, and it was cool to be driving a car that had that exact behavior. So,
Yeah, dude, I did 2.5-hour stints in that car, and it was a pleasure to I mean, I didn't white knuckle anything. Like I made a lot of clean passes and just found my hunting zone and just picked people off. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah.
All right, so we've got the question that will help so many people out around the world. We can't have both of you on and not ask the fundamental question: was the cookie on top of the Honda, was that an issue just due to weight, or did we aerodynamically just mess everything up? Because Miss Vicky could get that sucker to spin on just about any corner.
I can. I'm so good.
I'm sorry.
I'm
Cookie,
so
what?
good. I'm bad.
We built a large chocolate chip cookie and put it on top of the Honda for lemons, and because we made Chris and Chrissy from the Everyone Racers podcast and Three Pedal Mafia, their mom makes cookies for all the teams at the lemons races. So we made a livery of Chrissy's mom's cookies, and then on the top we put a 40 or 45 pound cookie that was about 4 feet across and about 10 feet tall, not 10 feet tall, about 10 inches thick, and steel reinforced foam with fiberglass over it. It was very sturdy because Bill doesn't want to have something fall off his car. And that sucker, I wouldn't say it cornered, I'd say more it listed around turns. And Vicky got it to spin quite a few times and came in and said, "This is garbage," took it off. So
I want to say one thing before we talk about the handling the car, and is that I feel like one thing that you guys do really well is that when you race in a series, you do that thing well. Like when you race in lemons, you race in lemons. You guys have solid themes. Like a giant, 40-pound cookie, you had the superheroes, whatever. Like you guys do good themes. It's like you don't just show up and drive your fast cars there and not theme it up. And then if you're going to go do something else, if you do one lap, it's probably going to be a good looking car. It's probably not going to have a cookie on the top of it.
No cookie. We've actually got a decent livery for one lap. It should be fun.
I like that.
Well, there's two artsy people that are on the team, so that helps a lot.
And then I only subtract, so we still have one, so we're still good.
You know what? I can't offer anything about the cookie except that it's probably slightly better than the boat.
Could be. Well,
I mean, the boat was creating lift everywhere. It was basically just, I mean, that's what boats do, right? And so the entire hull.
MR2, so it had to be like a little PT boat or like a little.
Oh, it was Noah's Ark. It was it was supposed to look like Noah's Ark. So it had all this wood kind of sloping upwards with this big prow on it and animals coming out.
Animals?
So, yeah, we had stuffed animals everywhere. We actually had a fish on the back, and at some point it was gone. And what we realized is we actually burned the fish off. It was made out of plastic, and we never knew. It just gradually eroded from exhaust gases.
We need pictures of this MR2 boat.
Oh, it's on the Lemons. It's on the Lemons, like best cars of all time. It's on the Car and Driver, best cars of all time, etc. Yeah, you can find it. Yeah,
right.
it's
we'll be
awesome.
Now. So is the boat? Did that take you from hydrodynamics to aerodynamics? Is that how you made that transition, or?
I don't know. No, I
don't think that was anything to do with it at all. I think that Mario's like his being enamored with aerodynamics like has nothing to do with it. Like his like he loved the boat because he loves boats, and then I don't think there was any connection between the two of them.
Oh, okay.
Hey, can you share your can you allow me to share screens? I'll show you some pictures of our.
Maybe.
Mhm. You should show him some pictures of ours, Bill.
Just give me.
With
So
the
while
cookie.
Well, you see, yeah, boat building was just a passion of mine. So I just did that for a while. And then when I got into building car parts, like I made like an extractor hood for our MR2. And of course I made it out of wood. And like when I made a hard top for my Miata, of course I just made it out of wood, you know.
Oh, there's a boat.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
It kind of looks, if it's a poor picture, just the silhouette kind of looks like Aladdin's shoe almost.
It does. Let me show you. There was later on the boat looked like that.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
There's Ben Dawson on the hood.
There's Ben with short hair.
With short hair. Who knew?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to go find those.
Do you see those holes in there? That's because one of our guys came over there, actually went 4 off on a full course yellow because he couldn't see the track. Like when you go up a hill, all you could see was wood.
Yeah.
So we
wow.
So we actually took
peekaboo holes.
Yeah, we took like a course of wood off the top and then drilled holes in the rest of it. But it was much higher. It was really funny because you literally went into blind corners sometimes. Like they weren't blind corners, but you went into the corner blind. Yeah, or something. You can see the extractor hood right there. That's the wood I built out of wood.
I see it.
Wow.
Right yeah.
All right, later on, I can show you what that car. Like, here's another picture of it.
Yeah. All these pictures will be on the podcast link, so you guys
later
don't have to worry about it. You'll be fine.
That was one of my favorite themes. This is what we call the Lamborghini, and so it was half Lamborghini and half Ferrari. What you're seeing right here is the Ferrari side. So the wing attaches to the back, like on an F40. But in a Lamborghini Countach, the wing attaches in the middle. So what you can see here is the wing attaches to the middle on one side and to the end on the other side.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a straight up like it's got an extractor hood on one side, it's got the side ducts on the other side. We basically did Lamborghini Countach and a Ferrari F40 right down the middle. It was a great theme
and a fast car.
Yeah, that was with the silver top, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got 9th out of 180-ish cars in that time.
Can you imagine that? Top 10? Like out of that's crazy.
I know.
Was Ben? I think Ben was on that team too, wasn't
he? Yeah, Ben was on that team for sure.
Yeah.
No, he never talks about the split personality MR2. We're gonna have to talk to that man.
I don't know why he doesn't talk about that.
Upcoming Dominate with Dawson topic coming.
Yeah. He's a hero driver, man. That guy's awesome. Yeah.
He's quite fun. We just hit it off with him, and then we found out, not only did he have more experience, he was actually a good driver. Who knew? So, the best person we could have ever asked for Dominate with Dawson, because there's not a lot of Dawsons out there. So.
That's right.
So last time we saw both of you boys, it was at the New York Safety Track event, which was fantastic, except for the weather a little bit, but fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, I just I've never had my own track day. So I just said, I'm going to rent out this track and invite a bunch of people and make it as cheap as possible. I think it was like $200 for cars and $100 for bikes, right?
Yeah.
And I rented it out this year, and it's like 3 times more expensive for me, but I'm still going to do it. I just want to run like track days the way I want to do it. I want open passing on a track day. Like, I don't think point by passing is necessarily safer, right? Like, I've seen so many late point buys, people offline, and I actually, little history, I did 1 HPDE in my life and then immediately went racing. Like I never did like the whole like HPDE ladder. We just went straight to Lemons racing, right?
Yeah.
Ian, what did you do? One day, maybe less.
Yeah, I had one track day, maybe 2 before racing.
Yeah, and then we just went right to racing, and then it's like you just learn, right? You just do open passing. You don't like point by is like sketch. So I said, if I'm going to have my own track day, it's open passing. Like, I'm going to have an open passing group, and point by for the people who just like that or just are afraid of open passing, but open passing safer.
The only thing that the point by does for me is it lets me know that the person in front of me sees me. That's, I can pass them. I'm not worried about that part. I'm just like, do you see me? Is always nice to know. So,
well, you present yourself just like in a Lemons race, though.
Sure.
You wouldn't just stuff somebody and be on their door. You would show a wheel, and then you'd be like, here I am.
Yeah. But we all have seen and been part of probably, or at least been witness to some people who remained blissfully unaware through the entire event. Like, oh, I never saw you there. And it's just like, guys, there's a bunch of us out here. You should be paying attention.
Yeah. So that's why that's why I wanted like an optional point by group. And I'm going to do it again. So like, yeah, May 14th, Occam's Racer Track Day, New York Safety Track. I'm just trying to plug myself here, right?
That's fine.
It'll be cheap. It'll be like 7 20-minute sessions, tons of track time, as cheap as I can make it. And
ridiculous amount of track time.
One open passing group, and 1 point by group. And special pricing for endurance racing teams because they're my people.
So you just decided just to say, hey, I'm just going to go out and do this, and you just did it?
Yeah.
Just want to go rent a track and bite some buds, and
that's what he does. Like, that's what's an aero test. I'm just going to do it. Stop talking about it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. It was, $14,500, but
wow. Yeah.
I know. But I figure, if enough people come, anyway, even if it costs me, let's say I go sink in the hole $3,000, it's cheaper than racing.
It's just a normal race weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. I don't care.
Well, there'll be a link if there's a link available that and we will promote your day. And we had a great time. I would say it is not a 10/10 track. So if you're trying to push the absolute limits of your car, might not be the place to go. But if you're just going out there and having a great time at 8 or 9/10, you're good to go.
By that you mean you don't think it's the safest track?
Yeah, there's one letter in New York safety track acronym that's a little questionable.
Should have been a U, right?
A lot of trees. A lot of trees.
Yeah. But there's a lot of tracks like that. I mean, Palmer's
for sure.
that. I mean, there's that
it's not the worst we've been to.
There's Watkins Glen.
There's every track with Armco on it,
yeah.
The blue trees.
Yeah, like turn 9 at Watkins Glen. Like, how many cars is that? Turn 6, how many cars is that collected?
All of them.
Yeah. I was one of them. Hey.
All of them.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
So it's like, what was that? The Hungry Hippo game? Yeah. Kind of like that.
So that's why I'm going to enjoy racing in New Jersey. I think Thunderbolt is probably like the safest track on the East Coast.
Safest track on the East Coast? It's not the Roval for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been all the way down south, but I mean, it's Thunderbolt is a great safe track with lots of runoff. It's a great, what I've always wanted to talk to you and Vicky about, Bill, is how much we all adore pit race.
Pit race is awesome.
Isn't pit race fun?
Yeah.
It's kind of like everything.
Yeah, I was talking to Ross Bentley about, we had him over dinner and we were like, we went to like Watkins Glen and I think he was there, and we were like, my brother and I were like, let's go have dinner with Ross. So we went out there to this barbecue joint, right? And I was like, tell me why you love Watkins Glen so much. And he was like, because I don't get it why people love Watkins Glen. He was like, well, it's like the commitment, like of turn 9 or other turns. And I'm like, commitment, yeah. And for me, like commitment is just like, nah, I'm kind of scared of that shit. I don't want to commit through a turn and be like, yeah, I was a half an inch from the wall. That's not commitment. That to me is just like a poor choice. But pit race, I was like, what about pit race? And he was like, well, I haven't been there since they expanded it. And I was like, oh my God, dude, pit race is so good now. Like,
we were trying to get him out in our car.
Fun.
It's so good. It's like, I feel like it's a longer New York safety track. Like, without like some of the trees and stuff, but it's got the elevation, it's got your blind corners, it's got some, camber changes.
Vicky keeps talking about fun. What's the definition of fun on a racetrack? I want to know from Vicky.
For me, especially pit race being one of my favorite, it's really got a lot of diversity.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of everything that you want. It's got great topography when you're racing. It's got the S's, it's got elevation, and it's got sharp turns, it's got gradual turns, it's challenging in some spots, and it's got it's just a really long track.
What's your favorite turn?
Oh, my favorite turn. Gosh, let me think. I think I like the back S's.
Yeah.
I really do like the back S's because there's actually like a little bit of a slope and it kind of goes up and then down. And I like the bowl also.
So the up and down, that's I think 11. If I think it right.
Yeah,
So
it's all the way in the back.
that's my favorite. Like you come into that, you come out of those S's, they're flat,
Mhm.
flat, flat, and then you go up that hill, you take a right, and then you come over to that left. And
Yeah.
it's magical when you get it right.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
not to
following
mention
right,
that's a
too.
really great place, especially if you're in a small car, to make some gains.
Yeah, and like Bill was saying, that next right, if you pin it there, you come out of that top right and pin it down that hill, and you don't know where you're going because there's completely blind on that exit.
Right, right.
But you trust it, and you come down that hill, and you are flying.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
could off
And
to
then
your
if
right,
the
you
aero
could
comes
see
in front of you.
everything. You can see like
Yeah.
the whole other end of the track coming. So
Yeah.
it didn't
That's
used
a
to
great-
be my favorite, but I think that one point that was the one track I have to say where I was actually learning uh offline passing. Like I was actually able to see it finally on how to drive opposite from the line in order to make passes properly and predict what the car in front of me was going to do. So, and I learned it on that back S's, and I kept trying to visualize what I wanted to do for the cars in front of me. And so it has a little bit of a memory for me on that.
Yeah, it's got emotional sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can set people up on those S's too. Like
You really can.
yeah, it's a fun spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, now that we're on favorite turns, can I just ask you, what is your favorite turn of every track, any track, anywhere? Like Bill, what's your favorite track corner of choose any track, favorite corner?
So I don't know that the favorite is the right word for what it does, but there's certain turns where I just don't feel like I got it. Like I've tried this, no, that wasn't it. I tried this, that wasn't it. And the one that comes to mind whenever anybody asks me about it is like madness at Mid Ohio.
I was going to guess.
Because I just can't. I never felt like I got it right yet. And then I've been around it thousands of times.
But it's a slow corner. There's so little to get out of it.
I know, but I keep thinking I'm missing something.
Huh. I don't think you probably are. I bet if you got it. Like I always, this is back in my motorcycling days, and I was at Laguna Seca, and it's this famous motorcyclist there. Anyway, he was kind of coaching us, and I was like, he was like, "Don't worry about the corkscrew." He was like, "It's a slow corner, and everyone goes through slowly. If you go through that corner a little bit faster, you haven't gained anything." He said, "Go through 3, 4, 5 faster." If you go through 3, 4, 5, this is Troy Koister, and he was like, "Go through 3, 4, 5 course faster, and that's everything that you need in a lap. Don't worry about the corkscrew." So, Bill, I would just say madness. Yeah, I mean, I've been through madness a few times, and I've been like, yeah, I hit it a couple times, and a couple times I felt like it was slow, but like, there's not that much to gain. There's not that much that's a tiny straight after it.
Yeah,
and then China Beach in front of it, like it's all that braking, keeping your momentum. I almost think of madness as a throwaway.
Yeah. And if you're going to go that way, I would say then it would be like Road Atlanta 12 and maybe even 1, kind of, because those are just tough turns.
I've only done that on a video game, but those terrify me.
Yeah, well, it's worse in person. Let me tell you,
sure of it.
It's just like, oh my god, that is. I remember I was. You know how there's pucker turns?
Yeah.
So I'm pulling into Road Atlanta after traveling down there with our trailer, and I'm pulling into Road Atlanta. And I go into the entrance, and just the entrance going down 12 backwards was freaky, because it's like I can't imagine that I actually have to race in a car. Well, actually, at that time it was a race truck the next day, but I'm like, I can't do this pulling it. I'm going to freak out tomorrow. And I did for a little bit, but it was fun.
Just a tiny bit, right?
Yeah, just a little.
It's the corners. It's the corners that initially give you trouble, right? That become the ones that maybe become your favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like
people.
Do you guys?
Have Bill and Vicky? Have you guys raced at Thompson?
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. So Thompson turn 3 is it's a 90-degree corner with a slight rise in it. It's such a shitty little corner. I have never nailed it right.
No.
Really? Okay.
I had a hard time with that also, but I tell you, 4 is my favorite.
Oh.
Holy cow! I'm able to in that.
That's where she learned.
Yeah, in my race truck at the time when we had it, I was finally able to figure out how to rotate the back end. And I just kind of shimmied that whole thing right around. The whole back end just slid around the corner.
Which one is
awesome?
Is 4 the part of the Roval, or is that The
No,
left.
no.
No.
it's the
the
little
hairpin.
bowlish turn before the roll.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
sharp turn, but
Oh, it's that
there's
hairpin.
gravel all
Yeah.
around it, and there's
Hmm.
so much
There's camber
rubber
too.
that's left. Yeah, that's like my favorite turn. I was able to get really loose on that.
I used to race this minivan, and that's one where I would just get up on 3 wheels and just pivot right around that corner. I know what you mean. That's a great corner.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's fun. What about you guys? What's your favorite?
Mario,
I
what
mean,
is
I think I already saw like I think pit race, that turn, whatever it is, 11 or whatever it's called. Like that's right up there. I mean, I
The
love
left?
yeah, yeah. Oh, actually, I really love New York Safety Tracks 12. It's this downhill off camber. So you come charging up the hill from 11, the car unweights, you kind of go to the outside and you have to
Yep.
tip in, but you're not sure to like bring it to the track edge or mid-track entry, and then you kind of pull it in, and the car's like kind of fighting you going to the outside. But if you get it to the right spot, you can stand on it all the way to 13. And there's something like that's one of the, I think the best like combinations anywhere is safety track 10, 11, 12, 13. It's just like, but yeah, of those 12 is my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some turns. We were trying to work out a brand new car to us, and at that event, so I didn't get as many laps as I wanted. But the some of the turns there's just so many, and some of them aren't obvious, and it was quite fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah,
Even
the
in the right
compression.
seat, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the compression like in 3 or in 6 is crazy, right? Like I used to take my wife and like to these track days and stuff. She'd close her eyes and scream all the way through 6.
What track
did
was
you
this
say
again?
Did you just say she closes her eyes all the way through sex and screams? What did you just say?
It was something else, something different. Maybe it was
So-
close though.
Turn 6. I'm sorry.
Oh, 6, not sex. Oh my
6.
God. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great corner. I'm glad you guys came though, because not many people know about that track. It's kind of a motorcycle track. You can never race there because you don't have any kind of pit lane or anything.
No.
Mhm.
But,
It's tough passing place too.
yeah, it's pretty narrow in places. Yeah.
So I think let me tell you my favorite corner. What's my favorite corner? Well, when I think about the things that are my favorite, I like things that are complicated. So if the corner is next to another corner, it gains a point. If it's off camber, it gains a point. If it's decreasing radius, it gains a point. So as many complications, if it's filled with dirt, it gains a point. But something like, maybe Thunder Hills, turn 3, I got into trouble there my first track day. It's off camber. It's connected to another one. Your car slides all around it. That's a nice corner. There's a bunch of ones on the west sides too. It's like, I just like to have the car.
I know what it is.
Into moving around underneath me and me having to control it.
It's 1 West. That's your favorite corner.
I like that one too. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many of these, like it's a lot of corners where it's like you have to make decisions, and when you make one decision one way or the other, it affects some other part of it somewhere else, and maybe there's more than one way through it. Those are the ones I like. The puzzles.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that.
Like, but there is a thrill to doing like, oh, it's a 90-degree corner in isolation. It's not complicated, but doing it perfectly is still complicated. And there's like a beauty and like a satisfaction out of getting any corner done perfectly, right? It's like, so I get that too. But
so,
Yeah.
Bill, Vicky, do you remember when we started this podcast and we were going to make it about me and we were going to talk about aerodynamics? And then Ian got on and started asking you guys questions. He's kind of like he flipped the narrative, and I just want to get back to talking about aerodynamics.
Let's talk about aero. Let's talk about aero.
No, I'm happy to go wherever this goes.
In my defense, I said to Mario, Mario, send me the Zoom link and I'll go bomb the podcast.
Job well done, sir.
This is my podcast, Mom. I should probably sign off now so you guys get back to talking about serious shit.
Well, listen, you both have open invitations. Anytime you want to come on, you have something to talk about, or you have nothing to talk about. Open invitations. We'll take you anytime we can.
Thanks. See you guys later. It was fun.
All right, sir. Thank you,
All
Ryan.
right. Bye.
Have a great day, Ian.
Yep, you too.
Miss Vicky,
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
What is that?
Well, you know how we have the One Lap of America coming up?
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it'll be even more exciting if you get to go, but we'll get you there in a year or two. Tough to get away for a week. both of us.
Yes.
So I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of hooking up the Sentinel system in the car we take.
Really?
Because then you could watch us. You could see Tim drive well and me drive poorly.
I think that's kind of a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. So, I mean, how would I do that?
Well, I mean, with the Sentinel, you throw it up on the tube of views on our channel, and you could watch remotely. And if we wanted to, we could do it as we're driving between the tracks. But we'll definitely do it on the tracks. You think that would be fun?
I think that would be a really cool idea.
The only thing that worries me is if we do it with the telemetry.
Uh-huh.
You might call us up and tell us that we need to go faster than 55 when we're on the track. So,
well, how does it work?
Well, we have the little aim telemetry in the car, and then the Sentinel system has either 2 or 3 cameras, and then it puts the 2 together, so you get all the telemetry and all the car data, and makes that part of the video, and then it puts it into our YouTube channel, and then you could watch it, or anybody could watch it. I don't know why they would watch us, but they could.
That sounds like a really cool idea.
Yeah, it might be fun.
Might be fun.
You think you want to see some of the debacle? I mean, some of the devastating driving that we do.
I think I'd like to see you on one of the tracks at Road Atlanta,
well,
or at One Lap America, for sure.
Well, so we could do that for each of the tracks, and if we want to, we could do even a remote video while we're sitting in the car driving between tracks, eating fried chicken, making fun of each other, whatever.
Okay.
I have a feeling our food is going to be let's go with not 5-star, shall we say, for this entire week. So, but you think that would be fun? You'd want to watch that a little bit?
I think I would. Really
Okay.
would.
All right. I guess I have a new project. We're putting it in the new One Lap car
I like that idea.
and streaming.
All right.
Right. You know what I think? I think our listeners could get some value out of this too, because what they do is they go to our YouTube channel, they watch these videos that we put up, and like around sleep time when they're trying to go to bed, and they'll definitely fall asleep. It won't be any problem. It'd be like a lullaby.
They can also write in suggestions in the comments section.
Yeah.
Please comment.
Yes. Excuse me, Bill, the track went to the left, yet you turned the wheel to the right. Could you please explain? And I will come back with a reply saying, it's a very advanced concept. I'm not sure you're up to it. otherwise known as we haven't finished putting our sim together and I didn't know which way the track went. But anyway, I think that's going to be a plan, my dear.
I think it's good.
All right, very well. One Lap of America, Sentinel, made for each other.
So Ian and I do this thing, like
Mhm.
if we're going to talk about tires, we make sure that my wife is around. She's so sick of us talking about tires. So like he'll call me on the phone and we'll like, are we talking about tires? Yeah, Jenna's here.
Nice. Indeed. All
That's
right.
awesome.
So when she walks in the background, we should start talking about tires. Then.
Oh, yeah, she's right there. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, she can hear me right now. I blew the whole thing.
No, she just ran. She just left the room.
That's okay. If she's anything like Vicky, she can't hear you talk anymore anyway. So what's the big deal?
Well, so that's another thing that my brother and I totally nerd out on is like tires and data. Like we do a lot of AVA testing. Like I've got like tons of like, I wrote the race rules for this time attack competition at our country club, and I really like tested so many tires and have like the value. So like we don't say like street tire 200 treadwear. Like street tire to us, like 200 treadwear ranges from 4 points to 6.5 points, like 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5. So I can tell you
brand or
but yeah, everything. So like a Falcon Azini is a 4.5 point tire, 615K plus, whereas RS4 is a 5. It goes up to like an AO 52 would be like a 6.5, right?
Did you try the new RE71 RSs?
No, I haven't had those yet. No. And also they come in like, they come in punk ass sizes, 205, 50, 15. Like, where's my 225? Where's my 245? Right? Like I only have 15s, right? I got like 32 tires in my basement. They're all 15s. So I'm like,
that's why they fit in your basement.
Yeah. Well, no, I've got 245 Pushers and stuff, right? So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, no, I like hear what you're saying. Like, yeah, I mean, but whatever. Like I want wide tires and especially at that track, which is just like go-karty. But anyway, yeah, we nerd out on tires a lot.
Well, tires are kind of important, you know?
Yeah, which is funny because we used those like the worst tires for that last race.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, just because you know what to do doesn't mean you do it. I mean,
Yeah. Well, we weren't really trying to win. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that we didn't win, but we weren't trying to win. So that's on me.
that's okay. You proved it. You proved your theory to your brother, so that's all that matters.
I hope so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's one of those guys that was like, I don't like the way Aero looks. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to punch him in the dick.
This seems to be an issue for you, sir.
No, that really comes from my blog. I don't know why I started writing that in my blog, but I started writing that, and I know it's just become like this tagline. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So your blog just goes over all of your highlights and lowlights of testing on your aero?
Yeah, I try to keep it technical, so I don't do a lot of just like, oh, here's what I think are the best cars or whatever. There's
my top 10.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, I have a like, how many Miatas do you need post? And it's been sitting in my queue for 3 years because I won't post it. But I like just the other day was like, I woke up and I was like, active aerodynamics, what's it worth? And I just went and investigated and wrote like a pretty good article on like, really, what is it worth? I went into optimum lap and I changed values and I figured out like how much would active aero actually help on your car.
Mm-hmm.
It's not much. It's really not that much. But that's the kind of thing that keeps me up and keeps me going. And I love writing that stuff because it's technical. And that's why I try and keep my, like, I won't do videos, for example. Like, I think that, like, I would have a shit ton of hits if I just did YouTube videos. And and I love editing videos. I like that stuff. But I kind of feel like the knowledge that I'm imparting to people is, I only want the people that take it seriously. I don't want like some super bro dude with neon lights underneath his car, like applying the knowledge that I'm putting out. Like if you're going to read like and research my stuff, I'm going to give you the answers. I'm going to give you some cool stuff, right? But I don't really care about whatever is going on YouTube. I really don't use YouTube. So like I won't make any videos. Yeah.
So no news flash on videos for this episode.
I won't even do it. I've wanted to do a podcast, but no, there won't be any podcasts. There won't be videos. Like you have to be a reader and a writer and have to be like, you just have to get into the real weeds for that shit. And so like, I don't get to have any hits on my site. Like a good day for me is like, oh my God, I got 90 hits today. You know, I just like, yeah, it's pretty pathetic. Like nobody looks at my website. So
no. Well, if you ever want to have a guest appearance,
maybe they just don't know about your website.
They don't, and I won't even bother like
he doesn't even put it out there.
I don't, because
I do it for myself.
I don't really do it for myself. I do it for the people, the thinkers out there, for sure. But I do it for myself, but I also do it for the thinkers. And Bill, I'm glad you read all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure you grabbed a few nuggets here. I did. There.
Printed several of them.
Because there's a lot of good stuff that I've like really worked hard at to fill like gaps in the knowledge base. I mean, it's all out there. Like Miata Turbo has tons of great aerodynamic stuff, but like wading through 70 pages of forum posts with like duplicate postings and like quoted sections that are pages long, it's just miserable. So I just wanted to take all of what was out there and stand on the shoulders of giants of like, you know, these other people who have done amazing aero work and just put it in one place. So that's what a lot of it is. You know, it's not like I'm being that original.
No.
So.
Well, like I said, you can come on anytime if you want to come up with a Dominating with Dawson like aero thing. We know a place that we can publish it. Not a problem. Anytime.
Well, we'll see. Because like I said, I like to do stuff with writing. Well, we'll see though. You never know. Yeah.
Never know. We've covered a whole lot of podcasts already, and we don't know what we're talking about. So it'd be nice to talk with somebody who does know what they're talking about.
Well, I'm a lot of theory though. Like I'm a theory guy. Like I do a lot of like racing simulations in like optimum lap, and I do a lot of research. And I've done my like probably more real world testing than the average person because I get out there and do that AIM solo data, whatever. But you know, I'm not like the last word on this stuff. I'm still at the very end of it, just like an armchair enthusiast. Like I just the difference is I get out of my armchair every once in a while and actually give you some data. But I'm still pretty much like an amateur, you know. Yeah.
I mean, it shows your interest and your knowledge in what you're doing and what you're writing, because it's not just that you do the simulations, and not you also do the testing, and you also do the experimenting, and you know some of the experimental design that you employ in what you're doing is also helpful in and of itself, not just the result, but actually what you did to think about setting up the experiment is helpful to me, because you know as far as racing goes, I'm more of a generalist, and I'm not really good at any of it, and I'm kind of okay at some of it, but with obvious holes. But you know, nobody can be great at all of this, or you know, they'd be 1,000 years old. I wouldn't want to race against them. But you know, the stuff you do is it's intriguing, not only from the result but also the process to get there. So
cool. And we need the generalists. I'm kind of a generalist too. I have this one like hyper focus on aerodynamics, but I would say in racing in general, I'm also a generalist. I like to have like the big picture.
It's fun, and you know, so if you were to look at your website, there's a bunch of different topics, theories, experiments, results. Would you say that there's a benefit more towards aerodynamics from a front of the car, the rear of the car, or an appropriate balance between the two is probably optimal, but does it seem to vary from car to car?
That's a great question, dude. I think there's more gains to be had on the rear of a car. All cars lift at speed. So you just take a regular car, like a sedan, and it has a coefficient of lift of 0.3 to 0.4. Okay, so it's going to lift at speed, and it lifts more at the rear than at the front. And so every car is unstable at high speed. It's lifting and losing traction at the rear as the faster it goes. As a car goes into yaw, it's turning into the corner. It also creates lift because those surfaces are curved. Like any curved surface is going to create lift. So let's just take, you have a BMW 330, whatever, right? Nice coupe looking thing. It's very aerodynamic going down the track at 90 miles an hour. It's really starting to lose traction. It comes through turn one at Watkins Glen, 65 miles an hour, whatever. It's beginning. Let's just actually say take outer loop. It's losing traction on the rear. Absolutely. It's dynamically losing rear traction. Even though it had a 50-50 weight balance, you are losing traction through lift. So absolutely, a spoiler is going to cancel that lift, and a wing is going to create downforce. I mean, depending on the size of the spoiler, but whatever. Right. I think there's more simple gains to be had at the rear. Plus, wings are dead simple, and most people doing splitters are just fucking them up because they think they're about pressure and they're actually about suction. So, like anybody who just throws a front lip splitter on their car and doesn't have, for example, hood vents or a ducted radiator, or they're not really worrying about the sides of the car, what's wrapping underneath the splitter, they're just losing their downforce anywhere. Or anybody who's just running a flat splitter. So, I just think that more people are doing splitters wrong in the front. There's so many more gains to be had in the front. I would just say that if you look at the average splitter, I could just go to a track day and look at the average splitter. 95% of the people just aren't optimizing it. They're just right. It's like as if they took a wing and just mounted it to the trunk lid. There's no air going underneath the wing. Right? That's basically what their splitter is. They understand. They don't understand the principle. They just I need to have a splitter. Every once in a while, you see somebody kind of doing it right, and then, but I think if everyone should put a spoiler or a wing on the back of their car. Yes, that's the part that is the biggest gain because you need to cancel that natural lift. And then if you want to make a splitter and really go after front downforce and suction, sure, you can make a bigger wing or you can make more rear gains and really make the car stick. So, for example, I just want to throw out a couple numbers that'll be meaningless to you, but I will. Like I just said, a standard rate, a car is going to have 0.3, 0.4 lift, right? 0.3 lift. My Miata with a wing, a splitter, or air dam, and a rear wing, whatever, had 1.0 downforce. Okay, so that's a huge swing. It's 130 points of aero swing on that. Okay, that's a lot. And my fastback was 1.2 coefficient of lift, so 20% more downforce than the hardtop. So those are real race car numbers. If you were to look at a NASCAR car. With those NASCAR stock cars have great aero, right? Like
Mhm.
0.39 coefficient of drag, 0.4 downforce, like decent. Or if you look at an IMSA car, anyway, a Miata with good aero, like air dam splitter, proper splitter, and a wing is got like serious good race car aero. You can actually do it.
Right.
It's a significant amount. Like 4 seconds at a typical racetrack is not going to be out of reach.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, a spoiler on any track is probably worth like a decent sized spoiler, like 6 inches is probably worth like a second a mile, and a wing is probably double that. And then when you add the splitter and balance everything out, like it's so much grip.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, on a fast track, on a slow track, on autocrosses, you're not going to do shit, but on a fast track, yeah.
So one of the things that has bothered me, and it just eats at the back of my brain, is whenever people start talking about coefficient of drag, a lot of them, I'm going to put a high percentage. I have a number in my mind, like 90%, but a high percentage of them ignore the frontal area as having any factor whatsoever. And I'm like, who cares if the coefficient of drag is a 0.2? If the thing's the size of a truck, your drag, it's so in some ways, I think that overall drag is a little more important than everybody seems to be focused on coefficient of drag.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's not easy to reduce frontal area though.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But people will add to it. They'll put all sorts of like
cookies,
splitter extensions, cookies, boat stuff, stuffed animals, whatever. Even a wing, a high wing is going to be more coefficient, like more area, like than if you dropped it below the roof. It's less area, right? Yeah, for sure. But you're right. But I think that's just because you can't do much about it. Like if you're driving a Honda Fit, it's like 58 inches tall. You're not going to cut the roof off of it, right? Like your truck is
unless you're
tall.
Sasha, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, your truck, what is that thing? 60, 62? I mean, Jesus.
It's big, and Alan likes to get wings on it, so it gets bigger.
I think my Miata must be like 46. I don't know what it is. It's just low, right?
Yeah.
It has 18 feet or something less than that square feet. So this is interesting. So like a Miata with, like I said, with the wing and the aero and all that other stuff, had a coefficient of drag of 0.48. If you took the wing and the air dam and the splitter and all that other stuff, it's just about the same. Like most of the wing doesn't have a lot of drag. A lot of people I hear like, oh, I don't want the drag from a wing. Well, it's like, well, wings are made to be aerodynamic. They don't have a lot of drag. It's about the same as your two mirrors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think people focus on drag reduction a lot, and it's not really that important. Endurance racing, it can be if you can skip a stint, right? Like we did it like that last race. But lift is so much more important. Downforce is way more important than drag.
How do you sense it? I mean, how do you test it?
Well, I did test it. It cost me a lot
of money.
Oh,
you actually put it like in a tunnel, like a wind tunnel or something?
No, we put sensors all over the car.
Oh, okay.
And it measured the actual weight of the car dynamically at all times.
Okay.
So we knew how much downforce the car was making at all times. So, but other than that, it's pretty difficult. But like having done like a lot of research on this, that really it's surprisingly how little there is. Like if you just like look up, I want to know what the coefficient of drag and lift is on X race car. Like people don't tell you that. Those are trade secrets, right? It's very hard to find that. But once you kind of get a sort of library of those things made up, you can kind of look at a car and guess at it.
Okay.
You'll be within 10%,
Yeah, and that I guess that's kind of, not everybody can go out and spend, a couple $100,000 or a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 to go have these tested. Not just the sensory factor of, what is the sensory factor of?
She's never driven a car with any kind of
right.
aero.
I don't think you'd know. Like I was saying with this Yaris, like here's the difference. So, turn 3 at pit race. Okay, like it's that downhill left after that long straight. If you had aero in your car, you'd suddenly be like, you know what was weird, Bill, is I was downshifting to second, and now I'm just carrying third, and it's totally pinned. Or you might say something. I don't know that you'd feel it viscerally so much, but you'd have some other metric where you would be like, I'm flat-footed here. I used to lift for like turn one, and I'm totally flat-footed. Like I lift now instead of braking or something like that.
Okay.
So a lot of the, I mean, I think that a lot of good aero comes from, like, when you shift that aero balance rearward, a couple of things happen. You get better braking, right? So you have that wing, right, creating downforce. You have more weight on your rear tires, especially at speed. So if you come into, let's say, turn 18 at pit race, right, and you're hard on the brakes, you're doing 110, right? You're like, that's actually moving that weight backwards, and you're getting more brakes than you've ever had. And you're like, holy shit, I can brake like a full brake marker later. That's what you would tell me. Yeah.
Okay.
And then as you came through that corner, it's kind of a low speed corner and you might not be able to tell, but as you came through turn one, you would be like, holy crap, I just went through turn one with more confidence than I've ever come through.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I don't think you.
Yeah, because we toyed with stuff like aero on our race truck, and
start with a brick and
yeah, well, yeah, but one our other racer on our team was very much into aero, but we had weird stuff all over the car, and I don't think that we had a wing on top of the car, towards the back of the cab, not like, and I would assume that it should be back where, the rear tires are, is where, not on top of the roof.
It would work. It would work on top of the roof too. Like it would affect all four tires more. It might be more front balanced, but
yeah. But we also, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, if it's on the roof and there's not enough space underneath the roof, then the wing can't generate that negative pressure. So like the suction, it would have to be like slightly aft of the roof, because let's say you have a 10-inch wing, it needs 10 inches below it. Okay, so if you don't have that, you need to mount it in such a way that it can create the suction, like this negative pressure area underneath it. So but lemons is lemons. You can do anything you want. I mean,
yeah, you can. But
and we did.
I find lemons to be a great place to experiment.
For sure.
And I know that we put like aero, not aero, but we covered the front so we didn't have as much going underneath the car, much wind. We tried that, but it wasn't an official spoiler. Yeah, it really was a spoiler. But we did have when we bought this race truck was it was an open bed, and they had slats that were running through, like along the back where the truck siding used to be for the bed.
It was a stake bed truck,
right? Yeah, I remember that. I raced against you guys at pit race with that.
Yes, but what we end up doing was we end up getting just plasti yeah, corrugated plastic board, but that's where we would put our shtick, was on the side of the truck. But we did have an older driver, a previous driver who used to race that truck, was saying that even just having that siding back on the truck did make a difference, just because of the wind channel wasn't coming up, I guess, through the back of the cab. I mean, not the back of the cab, but the back of the bed where it used to be. It was enclosed a little bit more, so I guess the wind can kind of slide down the car side a little bit. But that was about as much as we were able to experiment with it. But I just kind of looked at it going, it's funky. I don't see how it could work. Get all this stuff all over it.
It's probably just it's probably just a little bit of drag reduction. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, drag reduction is not a big deal. Like you guys really need to go for downforce. Like that little front lip spoiler that you did would keep some air from going underneath the car, and maybe you're going to go like 0.2 seconds faster or something. It's only like a slight bit of drag reduction, but if you had hooked that up to an under tray that can actually build downforce, you're in a totally different market now. Like you put in some hood vents, you vent the hood going upward. Anyway, it's totally possible to change that around, and you would feel it. Like what you're doing for drag reduction, you'll never feel that. But if you can add 5% more grip in a 70-mile-an-hour corner, it'll start doing things like, oh my God, I was able to flat foot this section, or oh my God, I'm using this other brake marker. Those things, that's what you would tell Bill.
Okay.
So, so Vicky.
Yes.
Since Mario can't hear me because I'm using my super secret voice, when he comes down for the weekend and we kidnap him for more than a week, we're just going to need a lot of extra food because we got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah. IPAs, not Belgian.
No problem.
Okay.
Whatever. Food and drink, not a problem. Skill, problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah, I even have some of this Marenti. Maybe I'll bring it down for you guys. But I'm redoing all the aero in my car. So I recently took this like aerodynamics course from Kyle Forster, who was an F1 aero engineer at Mercedes for like 3 years when in their dominant period, right?
Right.
And he has this online course that you can take. And I think I mentioned this before. I was like when Bill and I were just talking before the intro. But anyway, it was an awesome course. And I am redoing all my aero on my car. I mean, I'm pretty good with aero. Like I already had done like a lot of research, but like after taking this course, I'm like, oh, I got to redo that stuff. I'm like totally redoing all of my stuff. I mean, everything like stem to stern. Like I've got
Every bit.
all these new ideas. And I think that I'm going to go from like what I said, like a 1.2 coefficient of lift, which is pretty serious, is I want to get to like 1.6.
Right.
I want to be dropping seconds at lap times just on aero. And I think it's totally possible. Like learning what I have learned, I was like, oh yeah, this is totally possible.
Oh yeah, we're doing this.
Well, I mean, I use Optimum Lap, which is it's a kind of program that like allows you to put in different factors and change things. So if I just change, for example, the coefficient of lift from 1.2 to 1.6, I can see what that result is at every track on any different track. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like 1.5 seconds at Watkins Glen. I'm just throwing them out, but it could be that.
Right.
So, yeah, like even with the aero that I knew like a year ago, which I thought was pretty much, I was like, no, I kind of just like was like a total amateur. I'm still a total amateur, but I know a little bit more. So it's exciting to start this game all over again at a new level. You know?
Yeah.
So let's pretend we're going to give somebody a tease of what aero could do or people should do for like a normal production-based car. Is there a method that they should try to do and insert in an order or a priority?
There is. Like first of all, like take Kyle's course. I mean, if you do that, you'll know everything, every cheat code. But I would say, you start with a splitter, right? You start with a splitter, and underneath the splitter, if allowed, like in grid life, you can't create splitter tunnels, right? But in Lemons, you can. So you'd want to create splitter tunnels. You want to dump air into your wheel wells with a 12-degree splitter ramp. You're going to want to duct your radiator and make sure everything goes up through your hood vents. Like anything going through your engine compartment is just going to go below your car and ruin all that suction that you just got on your splitter. So, put everything upwards. I would just generally think like, are you changing the direction of air upwards? Good. Outwards? Okay. Flat? No. So you really want to just like create downforce like whenever possible. And you'll be looking at different parts of your car. So if you create a really good splitter and you have hood vents and you have fender vents, those are largely just so your splitter works better. Okay. You're just trying to create suction and make sure that any air that intrudes under your splitter can't. So let's get that air out of the way so that the splitter can do what it wants to do. And then just going to the back, I mean, I would skip barge boards and all that other stuff and diffusers and flat bottoms because it's touring cars and you're just not going to do all the stuff that race cars do. And just get a big ass wing. Like get a good wing. Like there's a lot of places there's a lot of places that make good wings. Like
call Johnny,
like, I mean, the 9 Lives wing is a little heavy, but because of that, like you can beat someone to death with it. Right? Like it is so strong. And I wish it was a little bit lighter, but man, it's cheap and available. And like, why doesn't everyone have one? Right.
Right.
I think, their 12-inch carbon fiber ring is probably amazing. I just don't have that kind of dosh, but that's what I would run if I had it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's not a huge science to it. Like splitter, make it sweep upwards, get your hood vents and fender vents so that it doesn't poison your splitter. And then now just get your big ass wing.
So fender vents front and back or just front?
I would just do front. Like even fender vents will ruin a little bit of rear aero typically, like depends on the car and how you do them. But like, it's so easy to get more rear, like add a wing, add a second element, make a bigger wing, right? Like that's not the issue. It's all about like how much front downforce can you get and how clean can you do it? Yeah.
So the question you never expected to get, this is why we have a podcast. We ask the questions that you've never thought about. So you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your MR2, when it was a Ferrari and a Lamborghini, which side was better?
Ferrari.
Ferrari was better.
Yeah, it was mostly due to like better venting. So the Ferrari side had the extractor hood, and it had that. MR2 actually does have a vent on the right side, but it doesn't do what you think it does. Anyway, and we actually ducted that thing. And so that had a real vent on the side. And the wing was super cool because it attached to the side of the car. Whereas the wing on the Lamborghini side was that sort of delta wing. It wasn't as cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And plus, I gotta just say I'm more of a Ferrari guy than a Lamborghini guy.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Are you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky.
That was a good question, man.
Yeah. So, like anything else, like you're taking all this deep dive into all of your aero. Does it create way more questions than as you start going into it? Do you start generating more questions? Are you still in that questioning phase about all your aero the deeper you go?
Yeah, but like there's more questions, but they're better questions. So like just like we were talking about with like you do your splitter, you do your hood vents, you do your fender vents. Now you're asking things like what shape should my fender vents be? Like you're just like you've done the 80% thing and now you're just working on the last 20%. So yeah, I mean, I think that I'm not 100% sure what you're asking, but I think you get through the big parts and then you sort of just like you're asking more questions, but they're smaller ones.
Okay, so you're able to kind of figure out a car quite easily at some point, or at least, like you said, get about 85, 90% there.
Yeah,
and then tweak it after that.
Yeah, the transformation we did on my brother's Yaris, like I flew in a day early and like literally like we ducted the entire radiator. We closed off most of the front end and just enough to feed the radiator because there's an actual size that your inlet plus radiator plus outlet should be for maximum flow, right?
Right.
But nobody would, I mean, it's like 1/3 anyway, but there's an actual relationship. So we're trying to get to those things and apply all that. And yeah, I can just like go to a car and then and we got pretty close. Like we got in a day, we aeroed a car and probably made it, I would say at least a second per mile faster, probably a second and a half per mile. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, on a 5-mile track, that's 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. And there's just solid principles. It's no magic.
Okay.
Nothing big.
I've got an opinion question for you, sir, and I think your opinion's slightly biased, but I'm going to see what your thoughts are. So there's people out there and some racing drivers, but we're talking the pros now. We're talking like big boys that actually get paid to do this and don't pay like we do. That view aerodynamics as bad for racing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Why?
The best racing is with very little aero. It's just easier to follow the car in front of you. Like NASCAR has it right. Like they went to swings for a little while. After like 93 races, they used wings, and then they went back to the spoiler. I mean, the racing was better. I think that like there's that series in California called Super Spec Cup. It used to be Super Miata. They run an air dam and a spoiler. And I'm like, it's pretty damn similar to NASCAR, really. And I'm like, that's a good looking car. And it's a pretty level playing field. And the racing is close. Like look at the Formula One regulations in 2021, right? Like they were open, right? And like there was this dirty wake created by all these cars, and it was really hard to follow another car. You'd lose all your downforce. You gained, some drag reduction, but you lost all your downforce. It was hard to pass. Yeah. So the 2022 regulations, like, are so wide sweeping, and they were all to do one thing: make passing easier.
Possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Make following cars easier. So yeah, I think they're aero. I love aero, but it doesn't make a great racing spectacle.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking the other thing is it gets it more where the car's a little more unstable and a little more technical term here, wiggly. And then the driver gets to affect it more.
I would say yes and no. Like, you saw that porpoising last year, right? Early in the year in F1. And I think it had a lot to do with, they were like trying to create maximum downforce, but like there was a lot of like just like I was talking about before with a splitter, like losing downforce at below 1.5 inches, right?
Mhm.
So if you can imagine, like you're making shit tons of downforce, the car's going down, and then all of a sudden you lose it, it would pop back up again. And then
Stall,
you
yeah.
would start grading, and then you would lose it again, and your car would porpoise, same as those cars.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that like a properly designed car is going to be more stable. Aero car is going to be more stable.
Mhm.
Like I'm just talking out my ass because I'm not like an actual aerodynamics engineer, but I don't think like you're going to see a twitchy car. You're going to see a twitchy car with cars like at the limit of a rules regulation.
Right.
Like if you just had no rules and a clean sheet, you'd make a car that was so damn stable and it would suck to the ground with fans and all sorts of other shit.
Mhm.
And you'd be like glue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also like, just like as I was talking about before about just canceling the natural lift of a car, like aerodynamics absolutely does that. Like you can easily make a car way more stable by just canceling the natural lift of
Mhm.
what is basically a wing shape,
Right.
curved on the top, flat on the bottom.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what, Miss Vicky?
What's that?
I have so many questions, and if I knew more about this, some of them would even be good questions.
Oh yeah, but he's doing really good explaining it out.
Oh, he
So-
is for sure. I just, this is one of those topics where I'm sitting there going, if I knew more, I could ask better
right.
questions.
And this has been like a thing for us too, that it's just another level of it's
Mhm.
next level for us to try to understand. We haven't reached that point yet.
Well, after I come down and we do like the aero on one of your cars, I want to do the EG. Like I had an EF hatch for a long time, and I had a
Okay.
wagon too. I had an EF wagon too. But we can just talk about like what we're doing, the principles behind it, and we can just do like a review of what we did on your car. But
Mhm.
I would really love to A/B test it. Like we got to figure out a way that you could, like drive it consistently on a certain set of tires on a certain day, whatever.
Yep.
And we do a couple aero things and be like, oh shit, 3 seconds.
Well, we can
You know?
definitely do that. We've got a bunch of HPDEs set up for this year, so we've got plenty of testing time.
Awesome.
It'll be
Yeah.
fun.
I was really happy with the wing mount that I made on my brother's Yaris, and I would love to do something similar
Huh?
on,
That'd be
on your
great.
EG.
I
Yeah,
need to see more pictures of this Yaris.
yeah,
We'll
it was
get you some.
yeah. It turned out to be super stiff. I couldn't even believe like you could rock the whole car with these wing mounts. It was crazy.
Wow.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Do you have a 9 lives wing, or what do you guys have? Anything?
We don't have anything official yet. We have, like I said, we have the splitter for the BMW, and the rest of them we're just au naturel right now. So
Okay, I've got all that stuff. I can bring something for you.
we can easily be persuaded into having one. Just wait till Vicky hangs up and tell me what I need to buy. But
We got to make sure, we got to make sure we get like engine in car
yeah,
before that time comes.
we're almost there.
I've got some things kicking around too. I can bring the stuff down. You guys can try out whatever. Or
That'd be fun.
whatever. Yeah.
So just for, and this is, again, it's speculative on my part in the question, and the answer is going to be very subjective, but you're pretty far along in the aerodynamics, in terms of a normal human racer, right? Amateur grassroots type racer. So if you were to do a scale of 1 to 10 between where you were and I forgot his name, the
Kyle,
lessons,
Forster.
Kyle,
Yeah.
where Kyle is, and Kyle's a 10. Let's say he's a 9, because nobody's ever a 10, right? Where would you put yourself along that path? Are you close, or are you?
No, I'm like a 3.
Okay, because there's just so much to this.
Yeah, there's like I was like a 1 when I started, and a 2 like last year, and like I'm 3 now, and I'm not going to get past 3. That the level he's at, and the people like AJ Hartman, or like the guys that are really doing the stuff, like they are so far beyond anything. Like they're like, you have to know math, you have to have CFD, you have to have like wind tunnel, and like there's there's a level that is just like, for the average person like me, I'm just never going to get there. I'm not interested. Yeah, it's
The
beyond.
desire's not there for that.
Well,
this
the
is a
education-
hobby.
Yeah, it's a fucking hobby. But also, like, just in taking this course with Kyle, and I've actually done some one-on-one consultations with him too. Like, you get this feeling like, do you play music? I can play guitar, right? but like I'm never going to be, you know, Jimi Hendrix or whatever. Like there's just like a level you will never get to, and that's the level that these people are at. They're just
Right.
magical, and I'm just like a fanboy.
But at the same point, the reason I asked was I assume that they're at a tremendously high level, and I wasn't quite sure where you were at. But even the point I was trying to get to was even with your level, and let's say you're at a 3 and they're at a 9, you're still able to save multiple seconds per lap just by what your knowledge is and applying it properly, which is huge.
Yeah, there's so many big gains to be had at the low levels. Like I think that they say this about like jets and also lots of other performance things, but like 90% of the cost is the last 10% of the performance.
Yep.
Another way of thinking that is you can get 90% of the performance for 10% of the cost. Like there are so many huge gains to be made. Really easy gains to be made. I mean, even though I was making fun of splitters, like people who do them wrong, the flat splitter with the front blade that's just providing pressure is still really good. Like it's still way better than the guy who's got no splitter and is just running air underneath the bottom of his car, right?
Like the guy who looks like us. Yeah, I got that guy. I know that guy.
The unsupported lip, like all like Sunday Cup cars have to have like an unsupported lip. You're not allowed to have a horizontal component. That's what makes downforce. It's not the lip. Like if you looked at the pressure plot of a splitter, I mean, you see people like standing on their splitters, and I'm like, oh, that's great. It shows you how strong it is, but the lip isn't where it makes the pressure, the downforce. It's further back. The pressure is in the suction, and it's kind of like in the middle. Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
I was just saying that the benefits are dramatic.
Yeah, they
even at the levels that we're aspiring to get to.
At the 2 level, at the 1 level, they're dramatic, and they're progressively less. You know, but that like at that F1 level, like 0.1 seconds is all day long, right?
Oh yeah, that's a couple of bucks in their world.
Yeah.
So, sir, we have taken up most of your evening. We will take up at least another evening or two and several weekends and whatever we can get from you, and
cool.
We must have you back on the podcast because we didn't even get to do the Fast and Furious Storytime questions, which are always just way too much fun.
I don't know what that is, but I'm game. Whatever. Yeah, we'll do it another time. I would love to do a recap after we aero your car. So let's just do that offline where we can figure out. I use a lot of street signs because they're cheap. I can buy them for $1 a pound. So I have lots of like aluminum rivets, brackets.
Cool.
You have a welder. I don't really so hook me up and I'll do some stuff.
We got you covered, and then we'll probably suck you in for more than one episode. Don't worry, and maybe we'll even let Ian come on again. Because he seems to like it.
More aero questions,
or not. More questions.
So some of us who are listening right now are really, this is just scratching that itch that they didn't even know they had, or they knew they had but didn't know where to go. Where would they go? Where's Occam's Racer?
occamsracers.com. It's actually racers. I guess somebody else had racer. So it's occamsracers.com.
Okay.
There's some menus across the top with various things. I would just hit the search. Like if you're interested in splitter, just type splitter in the search bar, and you'll get all those topics. There's a contact me button. I email back everybody who emails me. I mean, honestly, nobody emails me, so I got plenty of time. There's a link to buy me a coffee. So buying me a coffee cost me $5, which is gets you a password to all the there's some articles that are locked. Okay, they're just because they either took too much time or maybe I'm shit talking too much. But there's some protected articles, and $5 gets you all of them, and I think it's worth it. I've done some of these articles require a lot of research, so
a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, and even if you just are a poor student and you just want the password, I've just given people the password. I don't really care. I'm not in it for the money, so whatever.
No, not at any form of our racing are we in it for the money.
Okay, wait, here it is. The password's Coffee Club. COFF. It's all lowercase. Just go on. If you feel like the articles were worth it, just buy me a coffee. It's $5. But if not, just have fun, read the articles. Yeah, that's it.
And your upcoming event at Safety Track?
Yeah, on May 14th. That's Mother's Day. Unfortunately, I didn't know that when I plunked down the $14,000. But
Oof.
what? Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
Hey,
Whatever.
Miss
She's used to
Vicky,
it. Mom's used to it,
yes.
right?
would you like to go to a racing event? Because I will be comatose that entire day. So
Yeah. We'll
Let
see.
me let me know if you want to come up. It's a Sunday, so we're going to camp out Saturday night. We'll hang out in my RV. Come up.
I'm going to be coming back from one lap, or else I'd definitely be there because we had so much fun there.
Yeah, Bill's pretty much just going to be drooling, I think, that weekend.
Yeah, we're
right.
sitting there saying we're going to do one lap, and the schedule comes out, and I have to leave on my mother's birthday. The next day is Vicky's birthday, and then I get back the day before Mother's Day. I'm like, oh, this is great. Not only is one lap expensive, it's going to be really expensive to get out of sleeping in the bathtub. So
Yeah. You are definitely like number one son, aren't you?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm number
It's
one.
all
I'm just
right.
not sure which finger they're showing me.
Yeah, it's all right. I've still got to get an engine in a car yet.
That's true.
Got to get that in.
Okay. Well, so okay. So yeah, hit the website, check out the free articles. They're now
Okay,
free.
sounds good.
I just gave you that. Come to the track day if not. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys I definitely see you in New Jersey.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Grid Life.
100%.
And Watkins Glen being my backyard. I'll be up there for the Grid Life event in early April.
Yeah,
No,
we're
late April.
50-50 on that one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well,
So,
I wasn't going to attend. I think I'm just going to watch.
Yeah.
My car won't be built by then.
no, I get you. And then we're doing Lime Rock with them as well. So
Yeah, we never even get to talk about Lime Rock. Okay, another time.
there's tons of stuff to talk about. Don't worry.
We'll have you back on.
That's right.
Threats. Okay.
And we say goodbye and welcome to part 2. Now we're gonna let you raise your voice a little bit. So thank you, sir. It's always fun talking to you,
Thank
and we had a
you.
great time. And
Yeah.
we probably need to have a separate episode just on Dominate with Dawson questions and answers and story time. So that'll be fun. We can embarrass Ben to no end. That'll be great.
Word. Cool. All right, man. Good talking to you guys.
Mhm.
See you
Thank you,
soon.
Marianne.
All right.
Have a great
Bye.
night. Anything else you'd like us to?
We could
promote?
talk about that last race. We could talk about Ben Dawson. He moved to California. He did his first race with us.
Really?
We were the first team that he raced lemons with. And so we found this guy. We were like, he was in Davis, right? And we were like, yeah, you can join our team. And we put him through the ringer. And he was our like regular teammate for probably 3 years until he moved to East Coast.
Wow.
Yeah, I know you guys have a special relationship with him now, but like
We have never met him.
What? Stop it.
I'm serious.
Really?
No,
Oh
we've
my
been
God.
trying.
He's great. He's
He's a good dude. We just we started talking to him a lot, like right before the plague, and then between the plague and his little ones, his schedule's a little complicated. So
yeah.
So
cool. Well,
we'll get there. He actually worked on his car yesterday or Monday, which is like the first time ever.
His Miata?
No, he's got rid of the Miata. He's got a spec E46 in theory. So
I gotta talk to him about that.
Well, it's not like it's moving very quickly. It's like a spec 1 right now. So he's got a 45 more to get to. So.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Miss Vicky, you good now?
Yes.
Okay. Is your microphone on? Looks like it.
Yes.
There's a blue light on.
Am I okay? Can you hear me? Do I sound weird?
No, you know what sounds weird? Like last night when we were recording and you decided to like do this and your microphone's over here. Doesn't really
I'll
need to go together.
I'll do better.
Stop sucking.
That's racetrack stuff.
Exactly. Don't suck so much. Just do better. Are you good? Did you pull out? Nope. That's worse.
What?
That's better. That's better.
Hey.
Okay. Very well. You would think after 400 something episodes we'd have this down. Hell no. Still winging it.
Right on.
All right. Very well. Miss Vicky, you're very quiet.
I'm okay. I'm right here.
Oh, no, but your volume is.
Your volume is very quiet. Did you change the thing on the bottom of the? That's better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to be a nightmare for me to edit. So cool.
Still think I'm going to be a nightmare.
No, that's still low.
Now you went low again.
I did?
Stop changing.
That's super low. Is mine okay?
Yeah, yours is good.
Okay. I'm not going to mess with it.
What the heck?
Do you have your thing on like adjust dynamically?
Is that better?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Try this.
You had it
That's-
good. Then you
it's
stopped.
Is
gonna-
that better?
it's-
Is that
No.
better?
No,
What the heck?
that's
There.
better.
Something happened. It's just you and me tonight, Bill.
How's
Yeah.
that?
Okay.
It's fine. Okay.
Better?
Very well. Yeah.
Got it.
Well, yeah. In and out, I guess. Anyway, we're going to make it run. I'm going to edit this one for hours.
You know, it's all full of love.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't love editing though. Anyway,
Wow.